Hey there. Welcome to our podcast, Freedom Now podcast, as well as Flying Free Ministry YouTube video channel. I appreciate you and thank you so much for tuning in today as we talk about energy. Last week we talked about energy inventory, and I hope you did that. Just even like don't listen to this for like 10 minutes, put on a timer and work through where am I at spiritually, where am I at mentally, where am I at physically, where am I at emotionally, and you're like, I'm exhausted in all the departments, then you are in the right place because this is a place for hope and encouragement and joy and freedom. Because we are given energy. God gives us energy and he promises to renew our strength. And lately that is a word that's come up a lot for me is renew. Our pastor has been talking about renewing our minds, right? And renewing how we think about Jesus, renewing our relationships, and how renewing, just leaning into God so he can fill us up so we can be renewed, so that we live out of that overflow. I feel like often it's easy just to get into rote modes and just be like, this is what I do. So I'm just going to keep doing it. And then it's not working anymore. And we're still trying to make it work. And I think it's time to just stop. And for me, God just keeps on saying, when you feel like pushing, Andrea, I want you to pause. And I'm like, I don't really love that. And he's like, I know, but it's what I need to do to break the cycle of pushing through because I am pretty stubborn and I'm pretty resilient and I'm pretty just like, I can get this done. But God's like, no, I'm asking you to stop pushing because I'm wasting energy when I push instead of pause, because I am pushing through to what I think is next and what I think is best instead of pausing to get his encouragement, his affirmation, his strategy for making the next thing happen, right? That has been a big challenge for me this February and this year actually. God's just been saying, Andrea, will you be willing to obey me in this way? Will you be willing to just pause and do and be more aware that, yeah, you're emotionally, you're feeling drained, or mentally, it's been a lot today. Just take a breath. Or spiritually, yeah, it's been an intense battle, girl. Call up some friends, get some prayer. So we have that opportunity in our stewardship. Will we actually remember that our energy, our time, our gifts are all from God and they are all His? And will we allow Him to continue to move us through them and continue to help us um, live that out in the way that he wants? Because it's easy just to think, well, I know what he wants, let's go. And it's like, well, actually, I don't. We actually don't know what God wants in the sense of in this moment, in this day, in this hour. What is it supposed to look like? And usually we have a direction, but we're allowed to stop and let him help us with the details, right? And I think often we think maybe we're not allowed or we're not really sure if he cares. And the truth is, in his word, he says, I care about the details in your life. So I am talking today about boosters, energy boosters. And maybe listening to me right now, you think she doesn't need any more boosts. She's like all jacked up on coffee or something. And the truth is, I'm not. I just am excited about talking about this information. And I feel like energy boosters are really connected with the freedom builders that God's given us. So if you haven't grabbed a copy of my book, you're going to want to do that. You can hop on my website, www.andreafair.com, and grab a copy of my book, Freaking Out to Flying Free, Experiencing God in the Chaos of Life. And it in there, I go into, I don't know, I think probably 10 different freedom builders that God's given us. Because bottom line is, in our stewardship in our lives, we want to be operating out of peace and hope and love, right? And freedom. That's freedom. And so when we are seated in position with Him, we're seated in our identity in Him, we are choosing to use the strategies of freedom builders He's given us, then our energy is going to increase. And maybe it's not going to be like crazy, I'm running a marathon in energy, but that's okay, because we were talking about last time about different capacities, different levels of energy. Some people are high energy people. I seem to be like an up and down girl. I have like these bursts. I'm like, yay. And then afterwards, I'm like, what is going on? Why doesn't that stay? And so I need to learn that there's going to be times when I feel super energetic and then I need to step away and recharge. And that is 100% fine. And that is how God's designed me. And so if I embrace it, then I'm okay. And when I push against it and pretend I have more energy, then things get dicey. So I just encourage you from last time to do your inventory, see where you're at in the different departments. And then now, as we talk about boosters, like just acknowledge where you're at in each place and maybe sit there for a bit and maybe do some listening prayer and just say, God, this is where I'm at. What do you say about this in your word? What do you say? What do you want me to do in this situation? And just enjoy him pouring into you. Enjoy him giving you ideas, going to be giving you a picture in your mind of what things could look like. I That's how he's been growing me in freedom over the last umpteen years, because there's certain things in my household, in my life, and I'm just like, this is frustrating, it's draining, I'm coming against the same wall all the time. How do I get through? And then he leads me to that next strategy, that next little tweak, that's just something a little bit different that really helps and really changes. A unique thing in our family lately has been, I am pretty structured, and I things even from my childhood that I thought were great, I've been like, we're doing this in our family, but every family is different, and it's not always great the second time around to do the same thing. And so it's been neat to see how we've been morphing as a family into just more peaceful um, dinner time. I just have been more flexible and willing to be like, you know what? It's been a really busy day for me. It feels stressful to actually put the food on the table. Let's just put it on the island. And so we use the island kind of as buffet style and go through, and then we sit wherever around the table. And even that, like, I used to always sit in a certain spot, and it's a funny little tweak, but it really has been freeing for me to sit wherever I feel like. And I get to sit with a different family member, and it's added a new, different dynamic to our dinner times. And I think it's just even helped our kids to be more open, because it's not so like, well, this is, I don't know, it's just changed it up. So be excited about God showing you what your personal energy boosters are, because in my book, there's about 10 that I think are for everybody. Even practicing stillness, which sounds like an oxymoron. I'm going to be still so that I get energy, but seriously, give it a go. What I didn't put in there is power naps. I love power naps. They honestly, especially when I listen to them well, sometimes I'm like, oh, I sleep, and then I wake up, and then I'm like, not doing it. And then I sleep again, and things get a little dicey. But when I wake up that first time and I'm like, boom, I feel energized. And sometimes when I wake up and I don't feel the boom, I ask God, I'm like, I'm just going to lay here, okay, until you just give me that nudge that, yeah, it's time to keep going. And he's so faithful to that for me. So get excited about the energy boosters that God has for you. And it could be things that you're not in your comfort zone, right? Like maybe it is phoning up a friend and saying, let's just talk. I'm just needing connection, right? It's that weird time when we just need connection. The other week, I was praying with a friend or chatting with a friend, and I just said, let's just actually do the FaceTime video this time, because I just need to see your whole face. I see her at church, but we have to wear masks, and so I don't get to see her whole face. And it was just really good for my heart just to just to not think about COVID and just to enjoy that time. It was an energy boost. So go through your inventory, acknowledge that there's spots that are just drained and tired, and that is okay. And then that's where we move into acceptance that it is okay to feel drained right now. I have been through a lot, and to encourage ourselves. I actually finally got myself to write out a list of all the things that have happened, like in the last year, and just sit back and be like, oh, that's probably why I just feel drained. And then with the lack of vitamin D going on, um, because of the weather and because it's winter and it's just all white and gray, those things drain me. So just putting those things together has helped me remember, like, Andrew, this is kind of your normal. This is your normal. So keep it in check and know the things that help you. Something that I know helps me also is taking my supplements. You guys know by now probably that I am a Plexus ambassador, so I really love their products, and they have one called Vital Biome that is really supports your hormones, and so I love that one. And it has different strains of probiotics in it that are super beneficial. And I also have just ordered their active drink, which I'm excited to give a go. It's supposed to be like a fun taste too, and that's supposed to give you a boost of energy. So just to be willing to try things, something different, to just say, hey, I need help during this time. How can I support myself? And when we support ourselves, we really are supporting others, because then my headspace isn't all on me and all on how am I going to make it. It's more, I'm able to see beyond me because I'm taken care of, right? So um Psalm 23 talks about the Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need. And so as I lean into him to give me the wisdom for those energy boosters and then act on those ideas he gives me, then I am encouraged and I am refreshed, and I am able to continue to serve those around me and to love on them, and they get to probably glean stuff from me, and I get to enjoy who they are because I'm not just so intense in the other areas or pushing so hard to get through to that next place. Another thing I just want to mention is that it's really important. Please see that in capital letters. Really, really important to not be comparing. I'm currently reading Measuring Up by Renee Vidur. She is amazing and she's beautiful and wonderful, and she happens to be an acquaintance of mine. And she talks about freedom and she talks about comparison and how I'm currently reading her book. She talks about how we struggle with comparison, right? In all the different areas of life and frequently, and how we can allow comparison to drive our vehicle of our life, or we can use it to our advantage. And so that's been an interesting thing to ponder. And I'm like, okay, so am I Andrea? Are you actually comparing yourself, your energy, what you're able to do in a day with that person over there? And is that helpful to you? And it's like, no, actually, just makes me feel yucky and like I'm behind. Versus if I do look at their lives and say, well, that's great, and they're doing great, and I am choosing to celebrate instead of be jealous, because I know from Andy Stanley's book that is the antidote for jealousy is to celebrate what that other person's doing, so I can bless them and release them. But also I learn from them too, right? And say, okay, well, what are they doing that maybe I could implement, or what? How can I tweak what I'm doing if that is what needs to happen, right? So there needs to be a willingness to learn and to acknowledge that sometimes comparison can help motivate us or help remind us of what we have. I've had individuals tell me, "Oh yeah, I have had that maybe time limit on their phone, and that was good. Why did I stop doing that?" Or, "Oh yeah, I was only answering my emails a certain amount of time." Or, "Oh yeah, I did tell myself I wasn't going to, but now I'm back at." And so it's sometimes it's just taking that inventory or realizing, okay, maybe I just need to put some accountability into there so that I can really flourish and enjoy those energy boosters that God's led me to. And sometimes it's sometimes He's given us energy boosters for a certain season and then they change. And so I know for myself, I just like met my personal weight goal, which was really exciting. And then it kind of was like, hey, now it's kind of anticlimactic. You're like, yay, slash, okay, now I should still exercise just because it's good for me, which is not a bad thing. But I have needed to just take a step back from pushing again and just pause and say, God, what does this exercise look for me right now? And it's just more of a peaceful pace for me, and it isn't necessarily about length of time or how many weights can I lift, or things like that. It's just more of a peaceful just a maintaining, and it's just a different season. And it took me a bit to accept that, okay, no, God sees the whole picture of who I am and what I need right now, and He knows that this is what is the best plan for my journey right now. So ask God what your energy boosters are, acknowledge where you're at, and accept the action plan He gives you and go for it. Because as we obey Him, there's blessing. As we obey Him, there's freedom. And I just would love to hear from you. I would love to hear what energy boosters He gives you. Who knows? Maybe I will glean some new ones too. And I just appreciate you. And thank you so much for being a part of this podcast.